Before dealing with post-communist regimes, of course, I dealt with communist regimes, and it was not a decision. It was, I would say, accidentally. When in 1971-72 I spent my 11 months military service before the university, then within 2 months we could unveil the informers network of the secret services there. So after this, it was not a decision, it was our fate to deal with the sociological and political nature of the communist regimes. Finishing the university, I was a part of the anti-communist dissident movement. As a sociologist, I worked at different institutions and took part in the regime change. Spent 20 years in the Hungarian parliament, and since 2010, when the autocratic breakthrough of Orbán's regime happened, it was not a question again that we have somehow to create a new language for the description of these regimes, and not only in Hungary, but the autocratic regimes in the whole post-communist region, because the language, what was used until now by the mainstream literature to describe these regimes, were insufficient according to us. They were concentrating only on the political institutions, and they used the language which was used for the description of liberal democracies. And this language did not fit to that reality, what we could face in these countries.
In these 2 volumes, we discuss with over 30 authors the structural consequences of the Russia-Ukraine war. We were interested in how the war affects politics, economy, and society in these 2 countries, and also in how it affects the geopolitical structure and how it changes the position of Ukraine and Russia within the geopolitical space. Now for Ukraine, what we can see is that the war and the terrible destruction it brings also brings it some sort of an opportunity. It shakes the whole Ukrainian political economic system to its core, meaning that it also faces the opportunity to finally get out of what we call regime cycles, to finally get out of its post-communist legacy, to finally get rid of its underlying oligarchic stubborn structures. The question is, in which direction it is going to go after the war? Is it going to become from a patronal democracy, a liberal democracy of the Western type, or is it going towards some sort of autocracy? In these 2 volumes, Ukraine's patronal democracy and the Russian invasion, and Russia's imperial endeavor and its geopolitical consequences, we try to analyze the factors and try to analyze the underlying conditions which might make it possible for Ukraine to become a liberal democracy.
The question is very large and I would say very tragic, because we are looking forward to seeing this turning point for a while. So my personal answer is that the turning point will arrive when the Western powers will deliver on their promises of weapons, but most importantly on the sanctions. As the book that we have been discussing today shows convincingly, the Russian system is very inefficient, very wasteful, and is totally dependent on foreign trade. And now with the scholarship like this one, we understand the mechanisms of this dependency much better than we used to understand. So when the sanctions will be actually applied, the Russian Federation will not be able to continue its unmotivated war.
The Department of International Relations has taken a very strong interest in the Russian war against Ukraine from the outset. Very soon after the beginning, we have become involved in a course for the Invisible University for Ukraine at CEU on European Security. And following from that, we have developed several schemes for non-residential fellowships for Ukrainian colleagues from mostly Kiev, and we have also developed several large projects to organize conferences here at CEU related to knowledge production and the Russo-Ukrainian war, and a more specific workshop on memory politics and Russia's war against Ukraine. And we have, following from that now, quite institutionalized cooperation with colleagues at the National Academy, 𝗹𝗶𝗆, and also the Kiev School of Economics. And what the next step, what we would like to do in the future, is to develop a sort of more structured, institutionalized cooperation that also would involve, hopefully soon after the end of the war, a pattern of student mobility and research cooperation.